In May 2025, it extended the morning discount period by 1 hour. The city already offers rush hour toll exemptions on the Ulsukdo Bridge and the Sansong Tunnel. Busan City will hold a Hope 2026 Sharing Campaign Awards ceremony at City Hall today to honor individuals and organizations that contributed to helping neighbors in need. Awards will be presented to public officials, private citizens, local governments, and organizations for their charitable efforts. Honorees include the local funeral home, a company that regularly gave money and supplies during holidays, the Busan Ulsan branch of Korea Electric Power Corporation for supporting veterans' families since 2010, and Busan Medical Center for its ongoing volunteer work. During the Hope 2026 campaign, about 14.2 billion won was raised, exceeding the 10.86 billion won goal and ranking first nationwide in fundraising achievement. In international news, the Palestinian Authority will name a road in the West Bank city of Bethlehem, Korea Street, in recognition of South Korea's continued support for the region. The ceremony will be held tomorrow alongside the signing of an official development assistance project to build a startup hub. The project is being carried out with the Korean Representative Office and the Korea International Cooperation Agency. And now for today's weather. It is currently 27 degrees Celsius under cloudy skies. High temperatures are expected to stay above 30 degrees Celsius, with the heat index reaching around 33 degrees in many areas. That wraps up this hour's news. Thank you for joining us. You're listening to BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
Your best choice. BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
Coming up next is Busan Worldwide with Stephanie Yoon. BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
Good morning and welcome to Busan Worldwide. We all go through life at our own pace and in our own unique ways. 인간은 누구나 저마다 다른 속도와 방식으로 살아갑니다. Yet, we often find ourselves feeling uncomfortable or unfamiliar when faced with certain differences. In the Camp Hill communities in the UK, people with and without disabilities live together, accepting each other's differences not as something out of ordinary, but as a natural part of everyday life. What they show us is a very simple value, that everyone has the right to live an ordinary life in their own neighborhood alongside their neighbors. Perhaps a truly good society is not a place that forces everyone to be the same, but rather a place that naturally embraces our differences, don't you think? 어쩌면 좋은 사회란 서로를 똑같이 만드는 곳이 아니라 서로의 다름을 자연스럽게 품어내는 곳 아닐까요? This is Busan Worldwide. I'm your guest host, Claire Kim.
Busan, where the light of the world comes together. Stories from Busan connect to the world. The closest place to hear the voices of the region. Right now, at the center of the stories you want to know. Busan to the world. Busan Worldwide with Stephanie Yoon.
You're listening live on this Tuesday morning, July 7th on BEFM, Busan 영어방송, 90.5 FM in Busan and 103.3 FM in Gijang, Jeongwan and Noksan areas. Hope you're having a great day so far. And Busan City is hosting the Integrity Busan short-form video contest, an event created together with our citizens. 부산시가 시민들과 함께 만드는 청렴부산 숏폼 영상 공모전을 개최합니다. Anyone can participate by making a 30 to 60 second video under the theme of eradicating passive administration and budget waste. You can submit your work via email by August 3rd, and in September, 10 outstanding entries will be selected to share a total prize pool of 5 million won. These days, a single short video has the power to change the minds of countless people. What truly matters, of course, is the message it carries, helping us understand someone else's experience and shedding light on lives we might have overlooked. Perhaps that is the greatest power of content. Today, on the interview, we are joined by Han Seung-hwa, head of the Busan branch of the Korean Parents Network for People with Disabilities. What individuals with developmental disabilities and their families truly want is simply the ordinary daily life that the rest of us enjoy. In just a moment, we'll discuss why that ordinariness is such an earnest dream for some and what kind of community we should strive to build together. And before that, here's today's text topic question. What is a recent act of kindness or consideration you've shown? What is a recent act of kindness or consideration you've shown? Well, it could be a warm word you offered someone, a small gesture like holding the door open, or even an act of kindness you received when you were going through a hard time. Please share with us those small moments of consideration that linger in your memory or a kind act you've practiced yourself. 자, 오늘의 문자 주제입니다. 내가 최근에 했던 배려는. Well, for me, let me start with my own story. So my husband and I have been taking turns caring for our newborn baby. Since the baby needs constant attention, obviously, getting a good night's sleep is out of question, and we're both constantly sleep deprived. But in the middle of the night, we try to fight off the tiredness and hold out just a little bit more, a few more minutes, so the other person can get a few more minutes of rest. Enduring that exhaustion for each other is probably the most thankful act of consideration I've experienced lately. So you can send us your messages to pound 9050 for 101 or reach us for free through KakaoTalk on the YouTube live chat. 이 프로그램은 방송미디어통신위원회의 방송통신발전기금을 지원받아 제작하였습니다. With that, let's jump into today's The Interview. And the time is now 11:10 a.m., which means it's time for the interview. Everyone wishes to live in a neighborhood they're familiar with, doing the work they love, meeting family, greeting neighbors, and spending an ordinary day. Perhaps we live our lives taking this completely for granted as an ordinary routine. However, for people with developmental disabilities and their families, that very ordinary routine is often their most earnest wish. In fact, it is said that the question parents ask most frequently is, what will happen to my child when I am no longer here? The reality of having nowhere to go after graduation and the anxiety over a future where parents can no longer provide care are worries that many families still endure entirely on their own today. Joining us today is Han Seung-hwa, the head of the Busan branch of the Korea Parents Network for People with Disabilities. Today, we will discuss what the ordinary life envisioned by people with developmental disabilities and their families looks like, and what kind of tomorrow our society needs to prepare together. Today, 오늘 디인터뷰는 한성화 전국장애인부모연대 부산지부장님과 함께합니다. 발달장애인과 가족들이 바라는 평범한 삶은 어떤 모습인지, 그리고 우리 사회가 함께 준비해야 할 내일은 무엇인지 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. 지부장님 어서 오세요.
안녕하십니까. 전국장애인부모연대 부산지부장이자 사단법인 부산장애인부모회장을 맡고 있는 한성화입니다.
네, 반갑습니다. It is such a pleasure to have you in the studio today. So our guest today is Han Sung-hwa, the head of the Busan branch of the Korean Parents Network for People with Disabilities and the president of the Busan Association of Parents of People with Disabilities. So could you tell us more about the Busan branch of the Korean Parents Network for People with Disabilities and what specific activities you carry out? So 전국 장애인 부모연대 부산 지부는 어떤 곳이고 어떤 활동들을 하고 있는지 궁금합니다.
예, 저희 부산지부는 발달장애인과 그 가족의 권리를 살피고 더 실용성 있는 복지제도를 만들기 위해 앞장서는 장애인 부모 당사자들로 구성된 단체입니다. 누구보다도 더 처절한 현실을 알기에 구체적이고 실질적인 정책 제안과 권익옹호 활동이 가능한 것입니다. 부모 교육과 전문 상담, 자족 모임 운영, 그리고 지역사회 인식 개선 캠페인 등을 통한 다각적인 장애인 삶을 위한 활동에 힘쓰고 있습니다. 특히 학년기를 지나 학교를 졸업한 이후에도 발달장애인이 시설에 갇히지 않고 지역사회 안에서 당당하게 일하고 배우며 평범한 일상을 살아갈 수 있는 환경을 구축하는 데 온 힘을 쏟고 있습니다.
네, 단순한 지원을 넘어 졸업 후의 삶까지 함께 고민하고 계시는군요.
네.
So the Busan chapter is made up of parents of people with developmental disabilities who are committed to protecting the rights of individuals with disabilities and their families while advocating for more effective and practical welfare policies. Because they have first-hand experience with the realities and their families face, they are able to offer meaningful policy recommendations and actively speak up for their rights. Their organization provides parent education, professional counseling, peer support groups, and community awareness campaign to help improve the quality of life for people with developmental disabilities from many different angles. And their biggest priorities is supporting individuals with developmental disabilities beyond their school years. They believe they should not be isolated in institutions after graduation. Instead, they deserve opportunities to work, continue learning, and live independent, fulfilling lives as valued members of their local communities. They are dedicated to creating an environment where that becomes a reality. So when you talk with parents of people with development disabilities, what are the words or concerns that you hear most frequently? 그럼 발달 장애인 부모님들과 상담하면서 가장 많이 듣는 말은 무엇입니까?
네, 가장 많이 듣는 말은 두 가지입니다. 첫 번째는 내가 없으면 우리나라는 어떻게 될까요?입니다. 부모가 살아있는 동안에는 어떻게든 돌볼 수 있지만 내가 먼저 아프거나 세상을 떠난 뒤에 이 아이를 누가 책임지실까에 대한 두려움이 가장 큽니다. 두 번째는 고등학교를 졸업한 뒤에 우리 아이는 이제 어디로 가야 하나요? 라는 질문입니다. 학교를 졸업과 동시에 갈 곳이 마땅하지 않은 현실을 마주하게 됩니다. 그래서 부모님들은 학교를 졸업하는 순간부터 아이의 미래를 가장 크게 걱정하게 됩니다. 부모가 없어도 지역사회에서 안전하게 살아갈 수 있는 돌봄 체계가 필요한데 지금도 주간활동 서비스나 자립지원 제도가 있지만 부모들이 가장 걱정하는 것은 우리 아이가 정말 그곳에 가서 잘 지낼 수 있을까입니다. 아이가 익숙한 동네에서 안전하게 살아갈 수 있도록 주거, 돌봄, 의료가 함께 연결되는 지역사회의 중심의 지원 체계가 꼭 필요합니다.
네, 남겨질 아이를 걱정하는
네.
부모님의 두려움이 참 깊게 와닿습니다. She shares that she hears two questions most often. The first is, what will happen to my child when I am no longer here? She explains that while parents manage to provide care during their lifetimes, their greatest fear is who will take responsibility for their child if they fall ill or pass away first. The second is the question, where should my child go now? asked right after high school graduation. Upon graduation, families immediately face a harsh reality where there are few suitable places to go, causing parents to worry intensely about their child's future from that exact moment. She points out that a protective care system is required so individuals can live safely within the community even without their parents. While daytime activity services or independent living support systems do exist, parents still constantly worry whether their child can truly adapt and do well there. She emphasizes that a community-centered support system linking housing, care, and healthcare together is strictly necessary so that individuals can live safely in the neighborhoods they're familiar with. And could you tell us about the situation in Busan? How many people with developmental disabilities currently live here? And how would you evaluate the current level of welfare and support policies for people with developmental disabilities in Busan? 그러면 부산의 상황을 알고 싶습니다. 현재 부산에는 발달장애인이 얼마나 생활하고 있고 부산의 발달장애인 지원 정책이나 복지 수준은 어느 정도일까요?
네, 부산은 2026년 5월 기준으로 현재 17,000명 정도의 발달장애인이 이웃으로 살아가고 있습니다. 그렇지만 안타깝게도 가족들이 피부로 체감하는 지원 수준은 여전히 턱없이 부족한 실정입니다. 학령기에는 특수학급이나 특수학교 내에서 과밀화로 온전한 교육권을 누리지 못하고 있고 학교를 졸업한 이후에는 성인이 된 발달장애인이 이용할 수 있는 낮 시간대 활동 서비스나 일자리, 안정적인 주거와 돌봄 서비스가 체계적으로 갖추어지지 않고 있고 생애 주기별로 넘어야 할 벽을 만나게 됩니다. 결국 부모가 고령화되거나 건강상 돌봄이 어려워졌을 때 이를 사회가 대신 책임져줄 시스템이 온전하지 않기에 수많은 장애인 가족들이 미래에 대한 극심한 불안감을 안고 하루하루를 버텨내고 있습니다.
네. So there are around 170,000 registered people with disabilities living in Busan, a significant number of whom are people with developmental disabilities, including intellectual disabilities and autism. However, the level of welfare felt by parents on the ground is still severely lacking. In particular, there are insufficient daytime activity services and facilities supporting independent living available after graduation, and providing support for people with severe developmental disabilities also faces many practical difficulties. A prime example is the intensive integrated care service for people with severe disabilities. While this system was established after long-standing advocacy from parents and disability organizations and began implementation last year, it strictly requires staff with specialized expertise and experience. In reality, the immense workload leads to high staff turnover, which creates situations where individuals want to use the service but cannot because there are not enough providers to run it properly. She expresses that although Busan is often called the second city, she feels that its budget and policies for disability welfare are still falling short compared to the other region. Now, listeners, if you're just tuning in to Busan Worldwide, we're speaking with Han Sung-hwa, head of the Busan branch of the Korean Parents Network for People with Disabilities. She's sharing her insights on what an ordinary life truly looks like for people with developmental disabilities and their families, and what kind of tomorrow our society must prepare together. So, you said that even though parents initially needed the intensive integrated care service for people with severe developmental disabilities, some still hesitate to use it. What would be the reason behind the hesitation? 부모님들께서 최중증 발달장애인 통합 돌봄 서비스를 필요로 했는데도 불구하고 망설이는 분들이 있다고 말씀하셨는데 그 이유는 무엇일까요?
부모님들이 가장 큰 걱정은 우리 아이가 그곳에 잘 적응할 수 있을까입니다. 최중증 장애인은 낯선 환경에 대한 적응하는 자체가 큰 어려움일 수 있습니다. 또 혹시라도 다른 사람과의 갈등이나 사고가 생기지는 않을까 하는 걱정도 큽니다. 그래서 정말 도움이 필요한 부모일수록 차라리 내가 끝까지 데리고 있겠다라고 말씀하시는 분들도 간혹 있습니다. 그만큼 부모님들이 이 아이를 사회에 맡긴다는 것이 결코 쉽지만은 않은 것은 현실입니다.
So she explains that the greatest worry for parents is whether their child can adapt well to the program. For individuals with severe developmental disabilities, adapting to an unfamiliar environment can be an immense challenge. Parents also heavily worry that conflicts with others or accidents might occur. Consequently, she notes that even parents who desperately need assistance sometimes say, I would rather keep taking care of my child myself until the end. This reflects just how difficult a decision it is for parents to entrust their children to society. So you mentioned that the public perception regarding people with disabilities seems lower in Busan compared to the other regions. Were there any specific moments on the ground where you felt this deeply?
부산이 장애인에 대한 인식이 다른 지역보다 낮다고 하셨는데 현장에서 혹시 느꼈던 순간이 있으신가요?
얼마 전에 센터의 이용자가 잠시 이제 소리를 낸 적이 있는데요. 주변 사람들이 마치 위험한 사람을 피하듯 모두 도망가는 모습을 본 적이 있습니다. 그 모습을 보면서 저도 그렇지만 함께 있던 선생님들도 큰 상처를 받았습니다. 예전에 아이와 함께 지하철을 탔을 때 한 어르신께서 부모가 무슨 잘못했길래 저런 아이를 낳았겠니? 라는 취지의 말씀하신 적이 있습니다. 아마 그분은 큰 의미 없이 한 말씀이지만 부모에게는 평생 잊기 어려운 상처로 남아 있습니다. 부모님들은 특별한 도움을 바라는 것이 아닙니다. 그저 아이를 바라보지 않고 따뜻한 시선으로 이웃처럼 대해주기를 바랍니다. 발달장애인은 표현 방식이 조금 다를 뿐 우리와 같은 일상을 살아가는 이웃입니다. 장애인과 비장애인이 함께 살아가기 위해서는 제도뿐 아니라 서로를 이해하려는 교육과 따뜻한 시선이 함께 해야 한다고 생각합니다.
네, 무심코 던진 시선이 깊은 상처가 되네요. 따뜻한 시선이 참 절실합니다. So she recalls a recent incident where a center user briefly made a loud noise and everyone nearby suddenly fled as if they were escaping a dangerous individual, a reaction that deeply hurt both the parents and the staff members who were present. She also shares a painful personal memory of riding the subway with her child, where an elderly passenger remarked along the lines of, what kind of sins must the parents have committed to give birth to a child like that? While that person might have spoken without much thought, she notes that such words leave wounds that parents can never forget for the rest of their lives. She emphasizes that parents are not asking for extraordinary assistance. They simply wish for people to refrain from staring strangely at their children and to treat them with a warm gaze like regular neighbors. She notes that people with developmental disabilities simply have a slightly different way of expressing themselves, but are neighbors living the exact same daily routines as everyone else. Stressing that for people with and without disabilities to thrive together, institutional systems must be accompanied by mutual understanding, education, and a warmer perspective. So when parents and people with developmental disabilities say they wish to live within the community, what does that look like? 그러면 부모님들과 발달 장애인들이 바라는 지역 사회에서 같이 살아간다는 것은 구체적으로 어떤 모습일까요?
장애가 있다는 이유만으로 시설에 들어가는 것이 아니라 지금까지 살아온 동네에서 계속 살아가는 것입니다. 익숙한 집에서 생활하고 활동지원사와 사회복지사의 도움을 받으며 필요한 서비스를 연결받고 동네에서 장을 보고 산책하고 이웃과 함께 살아가는 삶입니다. 우리 아이가 장애가 있다는 이유만으로 삶의 터전을 떠나는 것이 아니라 평범한 시민으로 지역사회 안에서 살아가는 것입니다.
네, 특별한 혜택이 아니라 익숙한 동네에서 누리는 평범하고 당연한 일상이군요. And she explains that it means continuing to live in the very neighborhood they have always lived in, rather than being placed in a residential facility just because they have a disability. It looks like living in a familiar home, receiving assistance from activity support providers and social workers, staying connected to necessary services, buying groceries and taking walks in the neighborhood, and sharing life alongside neighbors. Ultimately, it means that their children do not have to leave their homes simply because of a disability, but can instead live within the community as ordinary citizens.
So what do you believe is the most urgent care system that our society must establish right now? 그러면 지금 우리 사회에서 가장 시급하게 갖춰야 할 돌봄 시스템은 무엇일까요?
무엇보다도 24시간 지역사회 돌봄 체계가 필요합니다. 긴급 상황이 생겨도 언제든 지원받을 수 있어야 하고 부모가 없어도 지역사회 안에서 안전하게 살아갈 수 있는 주거와 돌봄이 함께 마련되어야 합니다. 시설이냐 가정이냐의 문제가 아니라 지역사회에서 함께 살아갈 수 있는 환경을 만드는 것이 가장 중요합니다.
네, 언제든 의지할 수 있는 24시간 돌봄 체계가 하루빨리 마련되어야 되겠습니다. And she emphasizes that above all, a 24-hour community care system is required. She states that individuals must be able to receive support at any time, even during emergency situations, and a system combining housing and care must be established together so they can live safely within the community, even without their parents. She notes that it is not a matter of choosing between a residential facility or a home, but that the most critical goal is creating an environment where everyone can live together right inside the community. Now, listeners, if you're just tuning into Busan Worldwide, we're speaking with Han Sung-hwa, head of the Busan branch of the Korean Parents Network for People with Disabilities. She's sharing her insights on what an ordinary life truly looks like for people with developmental disabilities and their families, and what kind of tomorrow our society must prepare together. So people with developmental disabilities are individuals who experience happiness and hold dreams just like the rest of us. From your observations on the ground, when are the most moments they feel the absolute happiest? 발달장애인도 우리와 똑같이 행복을 느끼고 꿈을 꾸는 사람들이라고 하셨는데요. 현장에서 볼 때 발달장애인들이 가장 행복한 순간은 언제일까요?
네, 우리와 다르지 않습니다. 좋아하는 노래가 나오면 신나게 따라 부르고 운동을 하거나 자신이 좋아하는 활동을 할 때 가장 밝게 웃습니다. 그리고 무엇보다도 부모님이 데려오는 순간 정말 환하게 웃는 모습을 자주 보게 됩니다. 결국 발달장애인도 특별한 삶을 원하는 것이 아닙니다. 좋아하는 일을 하고 사랑하는 가족과 함께하고 익숙한 동네에서 안전하게 살아가는 평범한 일상을 바랄 뿐입니다.
네. She shares that they are no different from anyone else. They sing along excitedly when their favorite song comes on, and they smile the brightest when they are exercising or engaging in activities they love. Above all, she notes that she frequently sees them smile with pure radiance the exact moment their parents arrive to pick them up. She emphasizes that people with developmental disabilities are not asking for an extraordinary life. They simply wish for an ordinary routine where they can do the work they enjoy, stay by the side of the families they love, and live safely in the neighborhoods they're familiar with. And while many disability policies are announced, there are voices pointing out that it is hard to actually feel their impact on the ground. What do you believe is most important for these policies to translate into real changes in people's lives? 그러면 장애인 정책은 정작 많이 발표되지만 실제 현장에서는 체감하기 어렵다는 목소리도 있습니다. 정책이 실제 삶의 변화로 이어지기 위해서는 무엇이 가장 중요할까요?
정책은 발표하는 것이 아니라 실행되는 것이 가장 중요하다고 생각합니다. 예산이 확보되어야 하고 현장의 목소리가 그 예산 정책에 반영되어야 합니다. 무엇보다 발달장애인 당사자와 가족들이 정책을 만드는 과정에 직접 참여하여야 실질적인 변화가 가능하다고 볼 수 있습니다.
네, 결국 당사자의 목소리가 반영된 실질적인 실행이 핵심이군요. And she emphasizes that rather than just announcing policies, what matters is their actual execution. Funding must be secured and voices from the ground must be reflected in the policy design. She stresses that actual, meaningful change is only possible when individuals with developmental disabilities and their families directly participate in the very process of creating those policies. 그러면 마지막으로 오늘 방송 소감과 마무리 인사 부탁드립니다.
오늘 발달장애인 가족들의 아픔과 절박한 목소리를 낼 수 있는 자리를 만들어 주셔서 진심으로 감사드립니다. 장애가 있다는 이유로 격리되는 것이 아니라 누구나 지역사회에서 안전하고 행복하게 살아갈 수 있는 권리가 있습니다. 저희는 그 권리가 시혜적인 배려나 동정이 아닌 당연한 권리로 인정받는 사회를 꿈꿉니다. 앞으로도 전국장애인부모연대 부산지부는 발달장애인과 가족들의 인간다운 삶을 위해 멈추지 않고 최선을 다해 걷겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. First of all, should like to sincerely thank everyone for giving them this opportunity to share the voices of families of people with developmental disabilities, their struggles, their hopes, and the realities they face every day. No one should be separated or excluded simply because they have a disability. Every person has the right to live safely, happily, and with dignity in their own community. They dream of a society where these are recognized not as acts of charity or sympathy, but as fundamental human rights that everyone deserves. The Busan chapter of the National Parent Solidarity for People with Disabilities will continue to stand alongside individuals with developmental disabilities and their families, doing everything they can to help them live with dignity, independence, and opportunities. Okay, and could you share a recent act of consideration that you practiced? 이 질문은 청취자와 함께하는 질문인데요. 내가 최근에 했던 배려는 혹시 있으신가요?
예, 최근에 했던 배려 중에 최근에 심신이 많이 지치신 발달장애인 부모님 한 분을 만나 오랜 시간 그분의 얘기를 가만히 들어본 적이 있습니다. 사실 저희 부모들에게는 거창한 해결책보다 나의 무거운 마음과 현실을 진심으로 알아주고 묵묵히 들어주는 한 사람이 사무치게 필요할 때가 많습니다. 제 작은 시간을 내어 이야기를 경청하고 함께 눈물을 흘리며 방법을 고민했던 그 짧은 시간이 오히려 제게도 오랫동안 따뜻하게 기억에 남는 소중한 배려의 순간이었습니다.
네, I couldn't agree more. 진심으로 이야기를 들어주는 것, 그 자체가 참 깊은 위로이자 배려네요. So recently she spent time with a parent of a child with a developmental disability who had been feeling physically and emotionally exhausted. She simply sat with him and listen to their story for a long time. For many parents like them, what they need most isn't always a big solution. Sometimes they just need one person who truly understands the weight they carry and is willing to listen without judgment. That small amount of time that shared, listening, shedding tears together and thinking through possible ways forward became something deeply meaningful. It wasn't only a moment of comfort for that parent, but also a moment of kindness that has stayed warmly in her mind, own heart ever since. 네. And that's going to do it for today's The Interview, speaking with Ms. Han Seung-hwa here in the studio, the head of the Busan branch of the Korean Parents Network for People with Disability. 오늘 디인터뷰에서는 한성화 전국장애인부모연대 부산지부장님과 함께했습니다. 지부장님 오늘 함께해 주셔서 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네, 이 프로그램은 방송미디어통신위원회의 방송통신발전기금을 지원받아 제작하였습니다. Alright, that's gonna do it for the interview. Now let's take a song break. This is Viva La Vida by Coldplay.
When I gave the word, now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes. Listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king is dead, long live the king. One minute I held the key. Next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionary sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name ever alone this word, but that was when I ruled the world. Hear Jerusalem bells ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name ever alone this word, but that was when I ruled the world.
And that was Viva La Vida by Coldplay. Welcome back to Busan Worldwide. It is 11:39 a.m. And now let's check out some of the messages that we've got. Today's text topic is, what is a recent act of kindness or consideration you've shown? What is a recent act of kindness or consideration you've shown? 오늘의 문자 주제입니다. 내가 최근에 했던 배려는. I've got a text message here. 7950번님 7950 saying, 최근 부모님과 통화를 하면서 조언을 하기보다 그냥 이야기를 끝까지 들어드리려고 했습니다. 가끔은 해결책보다 누군가 진심으로 들어주는 것이 더 큰 위로가 된다는 걸 다시 느꼈습니다. So he or she saying they had a phone call with their parents and they just listened till the end without giving any advice or solution. They just truly listened to them and they thought it's better, maybe sometimes better than giving them solution. I know, I completely agree. Just listening is such an important thing to do, and it's not a very hard thing. Sometimes it's hard, depending on the person you have to talk to with. But listening is very important. Maybe I should listen today longer for my other half when I get home before I get angry instantly. Okay, I learn everything. I learn new things every day. All right, then please keep those messages coming in. With that, let's move on to Busan Update. And it's time for Busan Update. To celebrate the launch of the 9th local government and the summer vacation season, Busan City is hosting the July Donation, August Vacation, Hometown Love Donation event. 부산시가 민선 9기 출범과 여름 휴가철을 맞아 7월에 기부, 8월에 휴가, 고향사랑 기부 이벤트를 진행합니다. Anyone who donates 100,000 won or more to Busan through the Hometown Love program by July 31st will automatically be entered into the event without needing to apply separately. Thanks to expanded tax deduction benefits starting this year, a 100,000 won donation is fully tax deductible. plus donors will receive a return gift worth 30,000 won, bringing the total benefit to 130,000 won. On top of that, up to 100 donors will be selected through a draw to receive additional prizes. Special donors, such as the 1,000th participant, will be awarded a voucher for a 5-star hotel stay in Haeundae or additional gifts worth 60,000 or 30,000 won. Busan City has also introduced new return gifts, including surfing experience vouchers, to fully capture the unique charm of a Busan summer. The hometown love donations are used for various projects to enhance the welfare of Busan citizens, such as supporting vulnerable groups, fostering youth development, and vitalizing local communities. Those who wish to participate can make their donation through the Hometown Love Eum website or at any NH Nonghyuk Bank branch nationwide. The winners will be announced on August 5th. And that's it for Busan Update.
BEFM's The Interview is waiting for your participation. If you have any interesting stories to tell or unique experiences you'd like to share with our listeners, please leave a message on our website at www.befm.or.kr. We hope that your lives and experiences can be an inspiration for our listeners.
And it's time for the Correspondent Report. Let's turn to Indonesia for the latest updates. Our correspondent 이영미 is joining us from Jakarta. 오늘은 인도네시아 소식 들어보겠습니다. 인도네시아 자카르타의 이영미 통신원, 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
네, for our first story, there has been a major change in the cooperation method for the KF-21 보람의 Next Generation Fighter Development Project, which South Korea and Indonesia have jointly pursued for a long period. Please deliver the related news. 대한민국과 인도네시아가 오랜 기간 공동으로 추진해온 차세대 전투기 KF-21 보람의 개발 사업의 협력 방식에 큰 변화가 생겼습니다. 관련 소식 전해주시죠.
네, 인도네시아 국방부가 지난달 26일 자카르타 청사에서 공식 브리핑을 열고 KF-21의 자국 내 공동생산 계획을 철회한다고 발표했습니다. 유수프 자우아리 국방물자청장은 현지 조립 생산 대신 한국에서 생산된 완제품을 직접 구매하는 방식으로 노선을 전면 전환했다고 명확히 밝혔습니다.
The Indonesian Ministry of Defense held an official briefing at its Jakarta headquarters on the 26th of last month and announced that it would withdraw its plan for the domestic joint production of the KF-21. Defense Facilities Agency Chief Yusuf Jauhari made it clear that they have completely shifted their course to directly purchasing finished products produced in South Korea instead of local assembly production. It is a change of course after 16 years since participating as a business partner in 2010. I understand this decision came as the discussions on adjusting the cost-sharing contributions, which had been highly controversial, were finally concluded. 지난 2010년 사업 파트너로 참여한 지 16년 만에 노선 변경입니다. 그동안 논란이 많았던 분담금 조정 논의가 최종 종결되면서 나온 결정이라고요.
그렇습니다. 당초 인도네시아는 전체 개발비의 20%인 1조 6천억 원을 분담하기로 했으나 재정난으로 분담액을 6천억 원으로 감액하는 협상을 진행해 왔습니다. 이번 발표와 동시에 그동안 미납되었던 분담금 잔액 약 636억 원을 최종 완납하면서 분담금 문제는 완전히 마무리가 되었습니다. 대가로 받기로 한 시제 5호기와 기술 문서 등은 예정대로 인도네시아 측에 인도될 예정입니다.
So originally, Indonesia agreed to share 1.6 trillion won, which is 20% of the total development cost, but has been conducting negotiations to reduce the burden to 600 billion won due to financial difficulties. Simultaneous with this announcement, the cost-sharing issue was completely finalized as they made the final payment for the remaining balance of the unpaid contributions, which is approximately 63.6 billion won. The prototype Unit 5 and technical documents that they were to receive in return will be delivered to the Indonesian side as scheduled. If so, how is the specific scale of aircraft or the procurement method to be introduced by the Indonesian Air Force being sorted out for the future? 그렇다면 향후 인도네시아 공군이 도입하게 될 구체적인 기체 규모나 조달 방식은 어떻게 정리되고 있습니까?
네, 애초 48대 규모로 논의됐던 것이 16대 전투기 한 대 비행대대를 구성하는 최소 규모로 줄었습니다. 이 조정은 개발 분담금이 1조 7천억 원에서 6천억 원으로 축소되는 협상과 맞물려 진행된 것으로 알려졌는데요. 공동개발국에서 단순 구매국으로 지위가 바뀌는 만큼 앞으로는 가격 협상과 금융 지원 조건이 새로운 쟁점으로 떠오를 전망입니다.
네. She explains that what was initially discussed as a scale of 48 units has been reduced to 16 units, the minimum scale to form a single fighter squadron. It is known that these adjustments progressed in tandem with the negotiations to reduce the development cost share from 1.7 trillion won to 600 billion won. As their status changes from a joint development country to a simple purchasing country, she notes that price negotiations and financial support conditions are projected to emerge as new points of contention going forward. For the manufacturer, Korea Aerospace Industries, KAI, it amounts to resolving the long-standing cost-sharing risk. So what are the points of contention that need to be secured at the negotiation table in the future? 제작사인 한국항공우주산업 KAI의 입장에서는 오랜 기간 지속된 분담금 리스크가 해소된 셈인데 향후 협상 테이블에서 챙겨야 할 쟁점은 무엇입니까?
네, 수년간 사업 신뢰도를 흔들었던 이탈설과 연체 문제가 조달 방식 확정으로 일단된 점은 긍정적입니다. 다만 공동개발국에서 일반 구매국으로 지위가 바뀌는 만큼 가격 산정과 기술 이전 범위는 재조정될 수밖에 없습니다. 인도네시아가 KF-21이 첫 해외 수출국이 될 가능성이 매우 높아진 상황인 만큼 향후 구체적인 금융지원 조건과 후속 계약을 유리하게 이끌어내는 고도의 협상력이 요구되는 시점입니다.
네. She points out that it is positive that the rumors of withdrawal and delinquency issues, which shook the project's credibility for years, have been settled by finalizing the procurement method. However, since their status shifts from a joint development nation to a general purchasing country, she mentions that price calculation and the scope of technology transfer are bound to be readjusted. As the possibility of Indonesia becoming the first overseas export country for the KF-21 has become very high, she highlights that this is a time when high-level negotiating power is required to advantageously lead future specific financial support conditions and follow-up contracts. As the relationship has been restructured from joint development to a simple purchasing system after long coordination, we should continue to pay attention to whether these will lead to a final contract where both countries can secure practical benefits. 오랜 조율 끝에 공동개발에서 단순 구매 체제로 관계가 재편된 만큼 양국 모두 실리를 챙길 수 있는 최종 계약으로 이어질지 계속 주목해 보아야겠습니다. Now, moving on to our next story. Amid the global economic slowdown, Indonesia's job situation is also noticeably deteriorating. I understand some rather concerning economic indicators have been announced for the Indonesian job market. 세계적인 경기 둔화 속에서 인도네시아의 일자리 사정도 눈에 띄게 나빠지고 있습니다. 인도네시아 고용시장에도 다소 무거운 지표가 발표되었다고요?
네, 인도네시아 노동부 통합 데이터 포털에 따르면 올해 1월부터 5월까지 누적 해고 노동자 수는 23,470명으로 집계됐습니다. 4월까지 누적치인 15,425명과 비교하면 한 달 사이 8천여 명, 52% 넘게 늘어난 수치입니다.
So she shares that according to the integrated data portal of the Indonesian Ministry of Manpower, the cumulative number of laid-off workers from January to May this year was tallied at 23,470 compared to the cumulative figure of 15,425 until April. It is a figure that increased by over 8,000 people or more than 52% within a single month. The scale of increase alone seems concerning, but how does it compare to last year? 증가폭만 보면 우려스러운 수준인데 지난해와 비교하면 어떻습니까?
그 부분은 오히려 다른 그림입니다. 지난해 같은 기간 해고 인원이 4만 6천여 명이었던가 비교하면 올해는 절반 수준으로 줄어든 것입니다. 노동부는 이번 달 17일 발표에서 해고자 전원이 실업보험 프로그램 대상으로 분류돼 지원을 받는다고 밝혔습니다.
네, she explains that POT actually shows a different picture compared to the 46,000 laid-off individuals during the same period last year. This year has decreased to half that level. In an announcement on the 17th of this month, she notes that the Ministry of Manpower stated that all laid-off individuals are classified as eligible subjects for the unemployment insurance program to receive support. Right, and that's going to do it for today's Correspondent Report, connecting with our reporter based in Jakarta. 인도네시아 소식 여기까지 듣겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. 지금까지 인도네시아 자카르타에서 통신원 이영미였습니다.
네. And that's going to do it for the Correspondent Report. That was Miss Lee Young-mi, based in Jakarta, bringing us all the latest updates. All right, everyone, that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for tuning in and spending part of your day with me. Don't forget to join me again tomorrow morning at 11:05 for another round of updates. And here's our final song for the day, Morning Train by Sheena Easton. Wishing you a beautiful afternoon. Bye for now.